Hello, I'm Quentin Bryce. Tonight's Australian story provides a rare insight into the world of Australia's elite soldiers. Towards the end of my term as Governor-General, I awarded a posthumous Victoria Cross to Commando Cameron Baird. It was a profoundly moving day, one I will never forget. Corporal Baird was killed in action on the 22nd of June last year. He was the 40th and in fact the last of our troops to die in Afghanistan. Tonight, for the first time, family, friends and fellow commandos tell the story of Cameron Baird.
To be a commando, my observation would be a person of character, courage and tenacity. There's a lack of information in the public domain about what they've actually done, the fact they exist, what roles they've undertaken on operations in Afghanistan.
Every member of the regiment has protected identity status. There are capabilities, there is knowledge that is sensitive in nature. Those people are protected to protect that sensitive information.
Certain things are secret. They know they can't talk to friends and family about the missions.
I probably, as a father, wanted to ask Cameron what he actually did. It may seem silly. I asked a simple question of, what's a normal day? And he said, all days are not normal, they're different. Certain things you can ask and certain things you can't ask. And if you ask the wrong thing, you just never got a reply.
The stories are not told outside of the group until somebody dies. And one of the sad paradoxes of death that gives permission for the stories to be told.
Cam, you're on TV.
On 22nd of June 2013, with complete disregard for his own safety, Corporal Baird charged towards the enemy positions. Corporal Baird's acts of valour and self-sacrifice regained the initiative and preserved the lives of his team members. In getting that foothold for us, he gave up his life. That sacrifice is something that our whole country should be so proud of.
I just wanted people to know, outside who knew Cameron, you know, what sort of life he had, you know. But also to tell people, you know, like, well, we're not the only family, you know. There's families that are all in the same boat as us. After Cameron was killed and his personal gear had been returned up here to home for us.
Yeah, Michael Fussell.
The one significant thing that stood straight out from it was a black folder that Cameron carried with him on his deployments. And inside that folder was a picture of every soldier that had been killed. That's when he won his MG in 2007 when Luke was killed, unfortunately. Cameron carried that out of a sign of respect. Well, you mention these guys now and it's hard to believe they're actually all gone.
No doubt he would look at that book from time to time and would motivate him to be like those people, and whether, when the time come, whether he'd have the courage to be able to do what those had done before him had done. I think that's
respect is only earned, never given.
He wrote down there, the only bad decision was a decision not made.
There's one there from Winston Churchill too, isn't it?
Whether that decision was right, whether that decision was wrong in the end, I don't know, but he made that decision.
You don't know what you're going to be faced with, and you just need to make split-second decisions. And I'm not just talking about the enemy threat. You may come in, you may have a dangerous dog right there, you may have women and children. There's a lot going on. You need to assess it and then get on with it and complete your mission.
There's a saying in the army that there's a barrack soldier and there's a field soldier. Cameron was the field man. He just wanted to do the job. There's a photo that Cam used to hate and still would hate of him in his ceremonial outfit with his beret on, and sometimes we would put it up to tease him. Every time he saw that, he would be like, oh, I hate that photo, and it's just because it wasn't him.
The last Australian to die in Afghanistan has become the 100th soldier to receive the nation's highest military honour. Special Forces Commando Cameron Baird.
Having his picture plastered all over the newspapers and on TV at night in his pollies, he would have been embarrassed by it.
Corporal Cameron Baird has a place in history, awarded the Victoria Cross.
He didn't give up his life cheaply, but he just would have considered he's done his job.
You probably think maybe we shouldn't be doing this. We shouldn't be talking about him as if he's some, great person. I remember once someone asked him, what do you do? He goes, you know those little stickers they put on apples? I'm the guy that puts those on the apples. He never liked drawing attention to himself.
Cameron was the standout soldier of this regiment and someone that everyone looked up to.
Being, Cam the man that he was, probably wouldn't rather have a photo at all, but, he'd want a photo of him doing what he loved most. For such, a big, intimidating dude, a fearless warrior, he was actually a really gentle man, and he did have a big heart.
For 2 Commando Regiment, Cameron's award doesn't change the way we see him. We think no more or less of Cameron because of the Victoria Cross. The advantage that this award brings is that we get to share his story with the rest of Australia.
Cameron was always, right from kindergarten, he was bigger than all the kids in his class.
Wave to me.
But having said that, he was really quite gentle with the smaller kids.
Keep going, Cam. Look straight ahead.
Go, Cave!
It was probably apparent from an early age that he was quite sporty.
This is Cameron throwing at the discus championships. He's just taken home the gold medal.
He was the Australian discus champion in the schoolboys. But I think his heart was really on the football side of things.
Well, Cameron was an outstanding footballer. He was a fierce but fair competitor on the sporting field. Every award that he had the chance to compete for, he won. And he became the captain of the Victorian Primary Schools football team.
Here's this 12-year-old kicking the ball at the goals from virtually 50 metres out. I'd never seen someone kick like it, with both his left and right foot. So you just stood back in amazement and thought, oh my goodness, this kid is really special. And he was quickly identified by the AFL feeder system.
I guess Cameron decided at that point that he was probably going to take it as a profession. We certainly thought we'd be sitting in the MCG one day watching Cameron play football.
Yeah, I played with Cameron down in Victoria. The marquee key forward at that stage was probably Wayne Carey, who's arguably one of the greatest players of all time. And I think I sort of envisaged him being the next sort of Wayne Carey at that stage.
He was always very popular. Great smile, I think all the girls were in love with his smile and his laugh, and Yeah, but it never went to his head. He never had that jock personality attached with his popularity.
Cameron was very keen to be drafted. He'd received a letter from the Geelong Football Club again saying that they were interested in drafting him. He's last year in the under-18 competition, which is the one most are drafted from. Cameron had an opportunity to play in a fairly major practice match, and unfortunately a player comes through and connected and done serious damage to his shoulder.
He discovered that he would have to have surgery, but he was anticipating still being drafted.
I vividly remember the day that we watched the draft on TV, waiting for that name to be called out.
It went right through, and his name was never called, and he was absolutely devastated.
Not being drafted was such a shock to him and such a blow that he still wanted that competitive urge that was inside him to do something. And I said, well, what are you going to do? You haven't been drafted. He said, I'm going into the army.
It was probably a rash decision because I've seen guys that have missed out but then kept the eye on the dream and got redrafted at a later stage. But certainly, in my eyes, he was good enough to be drafted at that stage.
At the time, we were shocked because we just assumed that he would probably give the football one more year.
He went for his medical, and then the army rejected him because of the shoulder. So he decided, I'm going to challenge them on this.
There's a lot.
We got letters from his specialist who did his shoulder.
Hope you pass that fitness test tomorrow.
And he got a reply, we have accepted you, be ready to go in January of 2000.
I'll be in touch. Give it all you got now.
They weren't allowed to have any contact when they first started their initial training. And when he was able to make his first phone call to us, he wasn't really too impressed. He said, it's pretty intense, they're in your face, they're doing this. And I think they'd probably targeted him because he was such a big boy for his age. But that didn't last long. I got a call a week or two later saying that it was the greatest thing since sliced bread.
We got a very pleasant surprise when we were invited to their passing out parade at Kapuka. And there it was. Private Cameron Baird Most Outstanding Soldier Award. And we thought, wow.
And the Most Outstanding Soldier for 4th Platoon is Private Baird, Royal Australian Infantry.
He had the opportunity to apply to do the Commando training, which he did, he got through. So he felt very privileged that they'd accepted him and he was going to do it at such a young age.
You can't see people like this from, even if they're just about standing on them.
So there's not actually a special way of putting this stuff on your face. It's just as long as your face is all covered. You
as long as it's covered, you can put it on however you like.
That's your camouflage too.
You don't smile out in the bush. Jesus. Yeah, it's not a happy appearance out there, is it? There's no laughing and joking and smiling out there.
A commando physically is probably the equivalent to an elite athlete, Olympic standard. You need to be bright, intellectually able to be a commando because these men need to make emotionally and intellectually sound decisions when they're at their most fatigued. And to be able to handle adversity and things going wrong when they're at their most physically drained, both mentally, spiritually and intellectually. Cameron was 19 years old when he graduated from the Commando reinforcement cycle. I don't know of many others who've graduated at such a young age.
This is our front gate.
I met Cameron in early 2000. We were both junior soldiers in 4RAR Commando, which is now the 2nd Commando Regiment. And this particular night, someone had organised a boxing tournament in the barracks, which was, not kosher really.
One of my other mates was on the card, and everyone was saying, "Oh, you're going to be fighting this Bairdy bloke," and I'm going, "Who's this Bairdy? I don't know who he is." Everyone started chanting, you know, "Bairdy, Bairdy," and next thing you know, this huge bloke comes walking up the stairs, and I said to my mate, "I think you're stuffed, eh?" Cam won, and my mate got a blood nose, and that was the end of that. But at the end of the fight, Cameron made sure he was all right, and yeah, that's the kind of bloke he was. You know, he was always very, very caring and compassionate. We actually ended up in the same platoon together prior to deploying to East Timor. You know, it was a peacekeeping deployment, but he really threw himself into it. Cameron then deployed to Iraq. Nothing against what the boys are doing over there, but I think he was a little bit sort of jaded with that deployment. He really sort of wanted to be at the tip of the spear, and I think he felt an element of disappointment there that he hadn't really been at the forefront of the fighting over there. That's really sort of what he was interested in. He discharged from the army in 2004.
Cameron went into some private security work, and look, that lasted for, I think it was about a year and a half or something, but Cameron really, he didn't enjoy it. And then he got an idea of what the outside world was like, and he rang me multiple times and said he felt like a monkey in a cage.
And when he re-enlisted, he really put himself into it 100%.
I won't see you for another 3 weeks when I come down in BRL, so...
And then we found out we were going to Afghanistan in 2007.
Be safe, and I'll look forward to seeing you all at Christmas time. Bye. See you later. Love you all.
I thought Iraq was the big thing, and I go, "Oh, well, it won't be as dangerous as Iraq, will it?" He goes, "Mum," he said, "it's more dangerous." And I thought, oh, here we go again, you know. Oh, well, I said to him, "Just be careful, you know." And he goes, "No, you don't tell me to be careful. This is what I do." He said, "Look," he said, "it could happen to me." He said, "It could happen to anyone, anytime. We know the dangers, but it's just our job."
He made mention to his mother that he would die young. What he meant by that, I don't know.
Mum didn't like it because being a mother had said, "No, don't talk like that, Cameron." So Cameron basically didn't mention anything about it again, but yeah.
Cameron always felt that it was for the benefit of Australia that they were over there because of all the terrorism. I once asked him, I said, "Do you think it's of any benefit?" And he goes, yeah, definitely, definitely.
There is a gap in the collective communal understanding of the war on terror and Australia's part within that war.
Yeah, children moving left to right.
But for over 10 years now, young Australian men and women have been prepared to go to another country so that that country couldn't be used as a place where people would train to launch attacks on our way of life. And we probably don't realise that.
Well, for 2 Commando Regiment, our experience in Afghanistan has been enduring. We've had 20 rotations, and a rotation ranges from about 4 to 6, 7, 8 months. Unfortunately, we've had to share our part of Australia's casualties. We've had 12 commandos killed in action, and unfortunately we've suffered 1 killed in action whilst preparing for deployment.
Australia's Special Forces units have the longest presence in Australia's longest war. I went to Afghanistan to do a documentary tour of duty and feel to this day some gratitude towards Cam because he was one of the ones who thought, well, he's here to do his job, you know, we might as well help him.
Protection, let's go, facing that way.
At the end of the day, we are just everyday people. We come to work, we do our work, and then we go home to our families. It's not like the movies. We do a job and we just get on with the job.
The Commandos had been in Afghanistan since 2005.
Stand by for fire support.
They're the sharp end of the spear. They do the hard fighting.
Let's go.
And of course it is so different to the battlefields that we know well from Gallipoli and Tobruk, etc.
Mate, we've got contact to our right and contact to our left.
This is a battlefield that occupies a human space where you don't know the difference between a farmer with a rifle and an insurgent. They might be one and the same thing. So discriminating between friend and foe in a circumstance like that is extraordinarily difficult.
In regards to searching of people, I think you need to take it in a very humane way. First of all, you want to deal with any threat. You quick pat down to make sure they don't have a weapon, and then you take a step back. You treat them how you would want to be treated if you were going to be searched.
I think it's essential for you to maintain a sense of humanity when you're conducting combat operations. It can be very chaotic. Some civilians will run and just run straight through the middle of an engagement area. A lot of times it's more important the shot that you don't take as opposed to the shot that you do take.
The Commandos were in the thick of the fighting, and some very intense fighting, and often against a very competent insurgent force. Luke Worsley, of course, was the first commando killed in action, and he was with Commando Baird and some others. This is another one of these battles fought in a human space where a woman picks up a weapon. You can hear children crying in the background.
It was the 22nd of November 2007. It was sort of early evening. We'd received new orders to basically move to this area. There were some guys there that were manufacturing IEDs, which means basically it was a bomb-making facility. They were members of the Taliban.
Our team commander got pretty seriously ill, so Cam stepped up. That was his first operation as a team commander.
It was an operation at night into an enemy location. We made entry and there was a significant firefight within the compound.
We were engaged by a machine gun. And there was somebody from another side that had opened up with an AK-47, and they just continued firing in towards that entry point. It's called the fatal funnel. When you come in through a doorway, like people generally direct their fire into the doorway because they know that's where people come in. One of our team members, Luke Worsley, was one of the first guys in. As he came in, he actually identified where the fire was coming from, and he was able to give us a target indication. And then unfortunately he's been killed. What happened next? There was a lot of dust, a lot more fire. Cameron had identified that there was a bloke that was down. He's called out man down. And Cameron, myself, and another operator, we basically went over and we picked Luke up. We dragged him back out through the entry point of the compound. Once that handover was complete, that's when Cameron made his way back into the compound and basically sort of took charge of his team.
I wasn't too sure exactly what was happening, but Cam, the speed in which he got to handle the situation, it's just unbelievable. He was able to give an accurate indication of where, this fire was coming from. He went in front of the team. He, threw grenades. He was firing his weapon. He was telling us where to go. It was just amazing,
He ended up neutralising a couple of the enemy threats, and which resulted in the compound being secured.
Another member of my team manoeuvred through the firefight to actually get to a baby, a newborn baby, and manoeuvred that baby out of the firefight to ensure its safety.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Thank you for...
There were civilian casualties that night, as is commonly the case when these compounds are raided.
2 females and an infant child were killed during the operation.
There was quite a lot of detail revealing that in the inquiry into the loss of Luke Worsley.
Private Worsley and the remainder of his Commando team displayed remarkable adherence to their rules of engagement in a protracted...
They have to make the ultimate decision to take somebody's life. And they then have to live with that. And they do it within all the boundaries and restraints that are put on them.
That a more detailed commission of inquiry is not warranted.
At the end of the day, they've still got to come home to people they love and live with the fact they've taken another human being's life and be with them for the rest of their lives, wherever they may go. The impact can be truly profound when they see a friend killed in action.
Cameron had been in a long-term relationship. He was actually married.
We thought that this may well be Cameron's last major deployment over there.
Throughout the morning, the fighting escalated.
Something drastically had to happen. I saw Cam charging the door. Just charged it, weapon up in his shoulder.
And I opened the door and I knew straight away that what it was.
The 100th Victoria Cross has been awarded to an Australian.
I remember every minute of that occasion and the deep privilege that I felt in holding that Victoria Cross.
He'd probably be embarrassed about accepting it, but what he did got me out of there and saved my life and the others in the platoon.